After watching some of the Charlie Kirk memorial service, the assassination of Charlie Kirk seems to be an act of governance through terror and trauma designed to wound the soul and make the psyche vulnerable to religious persuasion. The cruelty of the assassination seemed senseless, yet the purpose was hidden in the shadows and seemingly with precision. Now they seem to be using forgiveness as a stage, quite literally, for endless self sacrifice and moral authority instead of forgiveness as a path for healing. Truly, this is mind warping. It felt like we were watching a in real time movie of a woman who just lost her husband tragically, and the use of forgiveness will be a social and religious expectation which pressures individuals to stay submissive, docile, or loyal to the state. Chaos was paraded before us, and now that chaos is giving birth to redefined ways of silencing tongues and creating unblinking eyes of surveillance. The people's fear is being used as a way to establish control dressed up as holiness. I just wrote that and posted it on my X account not too long ago. And something big seems to be happening, guys. I don't know exactly what else to think about this because this is very bizarre to me. I don't know exactly what happened. I haven't drawn any conclusions on what actually happened, but I do know that there are too many questions to go around that there's just not too many questions and not enough answers, quite frankly. And the more things unfold day by day with this situation, the more questions and the more things become unclear. And it seems as though we are literally watching a movie play itself out. I mean, the way that this was conducted, the memorial service with fireworks and the whole football stadium and all of these prominent speakers and important people from the government and all this stuff, they treated him as if he were a fallen war veteran hero. And now we have people that are calling him the Man of Steel, where surgeon says that Charlie Kirk's body stopped a bullet in an absolute miracle that saved others. So now they're propping him up to be, this martyr that was the Man of Steel. They literally are calling him the Man of Steel on Fox News. And the way that this is describing here, it's that it would have gone through anything and everything, but because it didn't, Charlie Kirk is the Man of Steel. And then you have these photos of the alleged assassin, Tyler Robinson, who is showing up at a Dairy Queen next to a poster that has Donald Trump dressed as Superman in the background. What are we seeing here? Okay, and then we saw Erica Kirk's her whole battle cry from 2 days after the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Did you see what was on there, ladies and gentlemen? Did you see what was on there? Very strange stuff. Look, I was in digital marketing for 7 years. It was my job to see how I can make images or use words as a way to influence the emotions of people. Now, I don't use these powers for evil, even though I could. And I definitely have been tempted to, because sometimes it feels as though the only way to get people to absorb anything that you're saying is to add some kind of relevance of fear to them, because people are really only driven by two things, as Napoleon Bonaparte has talked about, right? It's either fear or self-interest. And to get people interested in waking up to the truth, it requires you to almost persuade them that their life, Their life depends on it. And the thing is that it does depend on it, but it's not in the way that you think. Because I'm not saying that to inspire fear. I'm saying that to motivate and inspire. Not really motivate, because I don't really believe in motivation, but I'm saying it to inspire. I'm saying it because we want to see more people wake up. We want to see more men that are godlike savages. We want to see more women that are warm, inviting, feminine, and empathetic. I want to see humanity prosper in everything that it could be. I want to see that. But you're telling me that we're supposed to bow down to these people for what? I mean, this just seems weird. It's all weird. Even just the way that Erica Kirk mentioned in her speech tonight. I mean, before she didn't even, I mean, forget the forgiveness stuff, because she did say like, oh, that man, I forgive him. But it was just, I felt empty and hollow. I mean, these things were weird. Everything was very theatrical and cinematic. It was literally like watching a movie, and the music in the background, before she's speaking, she's looking down, and as the music starts to build, and then finally as the music like does this hurrah, she looks up, valiantly into the sky. What is this? Now, let's be sure that she could have a lot of manipulative people around her. Okay, there's a lot of weird things happening. There's a lot of people that are opportunists right now, because as Sun Tzu says in The Art of War, where opportunity is, there also where chaos is, there also is opportunity. And I think there's a lot of opportunists right now, but we have to remember as followers of Christ that just because somebody talks about all these good things doesn't mean that we should listen, okay? Do you not think that the devil can't use a term like Jesus Christ or the name of Jesus Christ? Because the devil sees it just as a term, right? We don't see it as just a term. But you don't think that the devil wouldn't use forgiveness as a way to manipulate the masses either? I mean, think about why this is happening. Think about what's going on here. This is like high-level spiritual abuse at the most despicable, disgusting, fundamentally crude example. It's just what it is. And I don't know what actually is happening or has happened, but I haven't drawn any conclusions. I'm just saying that these are my thoughts right now. And it just feels like something big is happening. Something weird and very big is shifting. I mean, we are, for lack of a better term, at a turning point, right? We are at the turning point. And this just seems off to me. This just seems off to me. And I think that it's important that we can still ask questions. Okay, it's important that we can do this because, I mean, think about that battle cry that she did, right? And I didn't see any tear. I didn't see any single tear. And even in the, like she was, wiping her face and her nose, but there was nothing on the napkin. The napkin was still dry or whatever it was, the handkerchief, whatever it was. And even tonight, it was the same thing with the memorial service. From what I watched, I didn't see a single tear. Now, I didn't watch the entire however long she spoke. I watched about maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and I just thought to myself, this is just weird. This is just bizarre. And then you have Donald Trump talking about how we're going to have a cure for autism afterward. It's like, aren't we? Where are we, guys? Where are we? What are we doing? And this is why I've just created my own community, man. Like, we know at least what's going on in the community. We have an understanding of each other and where we're at. We know what we need to do. We know what we need to focus on. It's like the whole society is just directionless. They are absolutely directionless. And thinking about that battle cry thing, she's at the podium. She's wearing all white with a little black shirt right underneath, and I see that as Freemason colors as well, because there's been a lot of Freemason symbols throughout throughout the last couple weeks. I'm not saying it was the Freemasons or anything like that. I'm just saying that that was a lot of the symbolism that came up. The 33 hours that it took for everybody to find the killer, okay? 33. I mean, and then you even saw that the shooter left at 12:21, okay? 1-2-2-1, 3-3 again. I mean, it's just the weirdness of it, the weird numerology and symbology of it. It's just all very strange and very weird. And this is what they do, right? This is what they do. And I have a feeling that this is deeper than what we want to let on. This is deeper than what we perceive to actually be the case. But that doesn't mean that we should be lost in our own minds about this. This doesn't mean that we should be so caught up in the story that they're actually telling ourselves. Like, we need to be able to detach from this. And we need to see that, okay, she's speaking with all white, so she's a symbol of purity, right? Now think about marketing, right? There was a donkey stuffed animal, which it looked like a donkey stuffed animal on the table. Okay, I think of the Democrats. I don't know, that's my intuitive response. I don't know what that was, but that was weird too. Okay, then you have Trump's Time Magazine Person of the Year perfectly placed in the background, pointing directly at the camera. You have Charlie Kirk's empty chair. You have the podium that she's speaking behind, the glass podium with this beautiful poster. In less than 2 days, they made this. Okay, now I get it. People can be very resourceful and they can get things done, but what? Like, they would have had to know that she's speaking. She's going to make a statement. I mean, who's authorizing these things to happen? Who's she communicating with? Why is she communicating with them? Why is it the case that not even a week later, I mean, or exactly a week later, because it was technically on Wednesday, all of a sudden, now she's the Turning Point USA CEO and chair? I mean, granted, who else would it be, right? Who else would it be? But what? How is a widow who just saw her husband shot before her and her children, allegedly, ready to go take on the world? What is this, woman power? Tell me this is about women power without saying it's women power. This is very bizarre. And again, even in that the address tonight that she made, she was telling men that they need to lead so they know how to serve. Okay? Now, this is very subtle, though, because that's true to some degree. But the way that they're talking about this irks me, because how many alpha MAGA men are going to be led to believe that this woman, this pure woman wearing all white — she was wearing all white again tonight, by the way, with another black shirt, which is another sign of the Freemasons. Could be, because the black and white pillars, people that know. And Charlie Kirk was wearing black and white the day that he was shot. These things just don't add up, and it's our job to be spiritually attuned to what's happening. And it's my job to give knowledge to the public about maybe a different thing that they're not seeing. And I know some people will come out here and say, that I'm heartless, or that I'm selfish, or that, I'm just jealous of whatever this or that, or I just not everything's a conspiracy, Thaddeus. I don't think I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I don't consider myself a conspiracy theorist at all. I'm just a realist aiming to live in reality. And I just call it how I see it. I don't think that makes me a conspiracy, whatever. And some people will say that, oh well, you know, that's just, it's a false derogatory term. It really doesn't mean that anything that bad. It's like, well, okay, well, you guys can make whatever opinions you want. That's the beauty of living freely, and that's the beauty of free speech in general. And the thing is I see that the things that they want to implement following this address and this memorial service, the things that they were hinting at, J.D. Vance being the, you know, the carrier of his casket with all these other military guys when he was shipped from Salt Lake City to Arizona. They treated him like a war hero, and it seems like they were setting it up for J.D. Vance to be the president in 2028, which, look, like, I get it, you want to win, but at the expense of traumatizing the public. Is that what's going on? I'm not saying that's what it was. I'm just asking a question, like, is that what's happening? Is that what's happening? Because that's kind of what it looks like is happening. And something just doesn't sit right with me about any of this. There's so many different scenarios and so many different things that I could look at regarding this topic. And I genuinely think that this is the most significant event only because it's been manufactured to be so since the pandemic. And we're just at this point now where we have to look at what the story they want us to, like, follow. What is the narrative they want us to follow? Because if we can understand the narrative that they want us to follow, then we can understand where they want us to go physically and where they want us to go spiritually. Okay? Because spiritually speaking as well, with my people that I do one-on-one mentorships with, I aim to help them with their narrative first. I want to help them with their narrative so that they can get their physical and their spiritual lives intact after that. But you have to fix the narrative. Well, what happens if you conglomerate the narrative? You give all these mixed signals. Well, then you put somebody in a position where they don't know which way is up and which way is down. And I've mentioned this before. It's like the sides of the walls become jello and the floor becomes quicksand. Everything just kind of starts to fold in on itself. And that's, I genuinely think, is the goal. I mean, oh, this is another thing I just thought about. Okay, after the assassination, I was looking at some of the material from afterward, and there was a video, and there was no crime scene tape around. There's no crime scene tape around the space in which Charlie Kirk was assassinated. Isn't that, like, important? And then there was a guy taking down the camera behind Charlie Kirk, and he's just chilling, you know, he's just chilling, taking down the camera. What's that about? Isn't that going to be used for, like, forensic evidence or something? I'm no forensic whatever, scientist or whatnot, but isn't that supposed to be evidence? You know, isn't that supposed to be evidence? And do people not know that Mormons and Freemasons are actually going hand in hand? You know, it happened in Utah, right? Okay, I live in Utah. I know the history of Mormons to a large degree, probably more than I need to, but the founder was associated with Freemasons. Okay, it doesn't just is any of this clicking? Like, is any of this clicking yet? Is anybody just like, is anybody sitting there thinking, going, huh? Because if you're thinking about if you're trying to add things up because things aren't adding up, that's a good sign that you're an independent thinker and you're on the right track to some degree. Now, what track we're heading toward, hell if I know, bro. Hell if I know. This is just very strange. This is very bizarre. But I know that we need to pay attention to where they want us to go and why they want us to go there. And I genuinely believe that it seems to me that they're going to establish control dressed up as holiness. That's what seems to be the aim here. And I'm not trying to be insensitive, because sometimes people, when you're just speaking it how you see it, and I'm really coming from a place of love and truth. I don't wish anybody ill will. And I pray for everybody involved that's been affected by this in a negative way. And I just want to know the truth. I just want to know why things are so bizarre and weird. I want to know why this is such a stage. Like, they're literally on a stage with fireworks and everything talking about this stuff, about how, we're gonna change the way people speak in this country. What? We're gonna change the way people look at us. Well, yes, that's true, but the context here is important. Okay, how you're doing that is important, and we just need to have the clear heads. We need to have clear minds, and be able to just stay detached from this stuff. They want you to be emotionally involved with this. Okay, so be mindful of that, be wary of that, and just make sure that you're seeing things for what they really are, and you're able to question things. Give people the benefit of the doubt, but also, if there is things that aren't adding up, be willing to ask those questions. So with all that being said, I hope that this message was useful and insightful for you. And, this is part of this life that we live. We have to, as spiritual people, as godly people, we have to be able to walk by faith and not by sight. Okay? That's really what's going to be most important as we move forward into this directionless path that we are almost being forced to walk. But make no mistake, I'm forging my own path as I go along. I'm seeing where other people are going, because sometimes I feel like I'm with Jesus Christ under a tree, and I'm just watching people go into hell. Sometimes I really feel that way, and I don't want to, but at the same time, I'm going to be with Jesus, and we're going to be making a path over here. At least I'm going to be doing what I need to do, and I'm going to stay obedient to him. And I'm going to be willing to ask the hard questions. I'm going to be willing to talk about things that maybe other people aren't willing to talk about or ask or even think about, because that's my job. That's my job to do that. So with all that being said, peace. Until next time.